Good morning to you. This is Sunrise. Top stories today.
More than 50,000 people are battling with HMRC over a tax avoidance scheme called the Disguised Remuneration Loan Charge. Put simply, they were trying to pay less tax through a complicated system of loaning money from offshore bank accounts. Let's speak now to Labour MP Neil Coyle. He joins us from Westminster, and Blanche Zaff, volunteer for Loan Charge Action Group, who's in the studio. Welcome to you both. Neil, if I come to you first of all, many people might not have heard of this loan charge scheme. Explain to us exactly what it entails.
Well, the issue here, and as you've described it, it makes it sound like people were avoiding tax altogether, but this is actually, it's much more complicated than that. And for many of the thousands of people involved, they were not offered any option to the payment arrangement they were given by, including in many cases in my constituency, NHS trusts, or even government departments were involved in using this means of paying. It was more often than not, it was for consultants and outside expertise being brought in, or consultants in the NHS, for example. So in my constituency, there are thousands, the second highest number of people affected anywhere in the country, and quite a lot of them are NHS workers.
And from what I understand, it's something that employers would have encouraged employees to get involved with and advise them as such.
Yes, so an HMRC were well aware of what employers were doing and took no action, then seemed to capitulate to a few years ago to try and introduce something that seeks to penalise people for many years. They're doing something that was completely legal, and that, as I mentioned before, many people had no choice over. Their employer, when they began a job, said, this is how you will be paid, this is what you can expect. So there is a review underway right now, and I would hope it's successful. There's a lot of cross-party support. There's over 200 MPs involved in seeking changes to what the government is doing. I hope HMRC listen.
Blanche, you've been affected directly. Your partner has been affected. Tell us your story with experience of this scheme.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say it's not disguised remuneration. Everybody did their annual tax returns and absolutely admitted what they'd earned, what they'd paid, whether they were in an arrangement, and paid everything that was due. And they checked that it was QC approved, that it was legal and compliant with HMRC requirements.
Compliant with HMRC requirements, but still a way to avoid paying tax then?
Absolutely not. These are people who are contractors, who are specialists in the jobs that they do, but they're not tax specialists. So to be IR35 compliant, it was suggested that they went into arrangements, and in many cases, they didn't get employment unless they were in an arrangement which was insisted upon by their employers.
So how have you been affected?
My partner is affected, and as with many people who find out about this retrospective tax, he was completely confused, shocked, bewildered, in a state of hopelessness. I deal with many people. I volunteer on our help desk. I deal with people very close to mental breakdown. A year ago, we presented 100 impact statements to HMRC, warning them that there would be suicides, and in fact there have been 6 directly attributable to the loan charge. And on our help desk, we know there are several people at risk who we look after more or less 24/7.
And people, if I'm correct, are being asked to pay 20 years' worth of tax in one financial year. So one lump sum they're being quoted.
Yeah, and it's more or less a gun to their head because, and I'm not an expert on this, I know that Neil is much better on this than I am, but what HMR, they more or less did a deal. If you assess how much you think you owe, then you can make a voluntary payment. If you don't, we'll double it into loan charge. It's incredibly simplified. The actual deadline to declare your loans is by the 1st of October, so it's Monday. There's a lot of people on the edge. And then that converts into the loan charge, which must be declared on their annual returns, which is then payable at the end of January. Now, There are figures bandied about. I'm on the help desk, and I hear anything from people who can't afford 8,000 right up to 600, 800,000. It has to be paid there and then. Many people have already lost their homes. Many people are already bankrupt. It's dire, absolutely dire.
Are you able to say what sort of bill your partner is facing?
Yes, we're looking at about £100,000. We will have to sell our home. We were hoping, we're both in retirement, we were hoping to be able to downsize and have something left over to enjoy our retirement. And if we have to pay everything in January, we will have to sell our house at a loss, way under market value.
Neil, there is a review, and obviously you've been signatory to this letter that other MPs have signed up to. But whilst the review is underway, cases are still being pursued, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm still seeing constituents who, as you just heard, are really, really worried about this. It is linked to suicides because of the heavy-handedness of HMRC and because of the demands and the time frame that's being used. What the individuals involved in the campaign and what a lot of MPs would like to see is a moratorium. No further action until the review is concluded, and for the review to be as thorough as necessary to get to the bottom of this. And it shouldn't be forgotten that there are companies involved who are not being chased as hard as some of the individuals. The government have taken an approach that is really aggressive towards some of the individuals involved and very, very soft touch for some of the umbrella companies, for example, who were advising employers on how to use these schemes.
OK, Neil Coyle and Blanche Sath, thank you very much for speaking to us both. Thank you.
OK, sport heading your way in just a moment.